Okay. Yeah, so just letting you know we are recording. So in switching it on like that, what I did was I clicked the dictate button. I quickly switched it off so I can set my dictation settings, right? So I can set this the first time and then after that it will remember. But I'm going to click that and it's saying, what's your spoken language? Well, I don't want to, it's going to be listening for different accents, all right? So I want it to be English Australian, and that is not in a primary language, that is in a preview language. So English Australia is here. So it's going to better identify my accent. But if you've got a different kind of accent, you can set that as well. Do I want to auto punctuate, right? So that means it's going to listen to the pausing in my natural speech, and it'll comma and full stop and things like that. I'm actually going to turn that off for now because I want to show you what it looks like when we punctuate. Because when we're working with kids and they're using this to assist them with writing, we want them to punctuate, not the machine, right? So we talked before about support and challenge and finding that balance. The profanity filter, do I want it on or off? Up to you. I'm going to turn it off, but I'm not going to do anything that's going to get me sacked, so all good. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to flick over to my sheet here. All right, and I'm going to start my dictate, and you guys can watch how this works. Last Christmas holidays, I played with my puppy Brandy, full stop. I sprayed water at her, full stop. I wrestled her and I played soccer with her, full stop. We sat down together, comma. We said jokes to each other, comma. We played and played until I had to go into the house and eat lunch, full stop. I said to her, comma, open quotes, you are amazing, exclamation mark, close quotes. All right. Now, I'm hoping that some of you were going, well, that's not very good. That's not working. But you saw that it caught up with me, right? So again, we are connected to the internet for Dictate to work, and we are logging into some very powerful AIs, artificial intelligence. I'm going to make this nice and big so you can see what it actually, I should have done that before. Sorry about that. But you can see here, last Christmas holidays, I played with my puppy Brandy. I sprayed Ward. So that was my stutter, right? Ward, ooh. Sorry. Let's bring that back down. I sprayed, that was my stutter there. I said I sprayed word water at her. I wrestled her and I played soccer with her. We sat down together. We said jokes to each other. We played and played until I had to go into the house and eat lunch. I said to her, you are amazing. And it punctuated as I wanted it to punctuate. All right. Now, if we were to turn punctuation on, auto punctuation, we can try that again. I will, this time I'm just going to try and pause it. Now I know that if I want it to punctuate, I'm going to make sure that I pause and things like that. And you can see the difference as we go in there. Oh. So I'm going to turn punctuation on again. Oh, sorry, I turn punctuation off. I'm going to turn dictate on again. Somebody was on. Last Christmas holidays, I played with my puppy Brandy. I sprayed water at her. I wrestled her and I played soccer with her. We sat down together. We said jokes to each other. We played and played until I had to go into the house and eat lunch. I said to her, you are amazing. Okay, so you can see there that it did a pretty good job, right? But the punctuations and the punctuation, it listened. It even got the commas, and at times, like I wrestled her and I played soccer. We sat down together. We said jokes to each other. It got some of the commas and bits and pieces, but not where I necessarily wanted them. So it's not perfect, but it's actually quite good. All right. So remembering that this is native to Office, which means that we don't need to buy expensive software, or even, you know, dare I say it, sort of old software that people think, oh, this is what you use for Dictate. This is all free. Okay. Now over here, getting started with Dictate. All right. So when you open Dictate and then you hit stop, it will automatically open up Dictate Help. So here's all the instructions for you for changing your language as well. Auto punctuation, all that kind of stuff is all down here as well. Making corrections is actually quite good. So you can go through and have a look at that. Punctuation, editing and things. So what happens here, I'll show you. And I won't pretend that I'm right across this because I don't use it very often in my own day-to-day. But the more you use it, the better you get. The better you get at it. So for example, you could do something like this. I went to my house the other day. Delete house. I went to my house the other day and saw my friend. Delete sentence. Okay, so it's got some really cool voice commands in there. When I was demoing this just a few years ago, this stuff was not there, right? So it gets updated all the time. So you can go in and have a bit of a play. So like information about punctuation is there, information about editing, formatting, creating lists. It does more than just dictate, okay? But that's what it looks like, quite good. And this is living in some multiple tools, and we'll have a look at where it lives in a moment. What I'd like to do first, though, is to give, before we sort of get in and have more of a play, I'd like to give you guys a bit of a tour. I'd like to give you a bit of a play yourself, right? So what we're going to do is you're going to make sure that your mic is off in Teams. Okay, so make sure that your microphone is off in Teams, so that way we're not all hearing you. But you can open up a Word document. Okay, and you can start to play around with dictate, right? So I'm going to give you 10 minutes. So we're at, so let's do it at 2 o'clock, right? Which gives you, actually, I said 10 minutes, didn't I? So let's come back at 5:02, sorry. We're going to come back at 5:02. But just go in, open up Word Online, go to office.com, open Word Online, open a blank document and start playing around with dictate. And if you get a bit lost, come back in here and go off mute. But I just need to point something out to you. If you've got your speakers on and we start talking, dictate is probably going to hear other conversations around you, all right? So just, you may want to turn your volume down while you're doing it so you're not hearing us in Teams and stuff like that. The better your microphone on your machine, so if you've got an expensive machine, you're going to have a better quality microphone, you're going to have a better experience, okay? But if you've got low budget machines at your school, you can buy nice, decent headsets for the kids that need them, and you know, you can offset the cost a little bit that way. All right, so anyway, you go and have a play, and I'll stay in here if you've got any questions.
Oh, you still.
Okay, we've got about 1 minute and then we're going to come back together. Okay, guys, so just a reminder that all the resources to download, including the slides with the active links, are at aka.ms/today's stuff. Okay, so that's aka.ms/today's stuff. You can pop that into your browser and you'll be able to download all the resources, including the slides. Now, Dictate, remember this is Dictate in Office, which is different to Dictate on your device, whether that's a Windows 10 or a Mac or something like that. So you can use a combination of Dictate on your device as well as Dictate in Office. It's available in Word, PowerPoint, Outlook, and OneNote desktop apps. So they're fully installed on your Windows device, Word, PowerPoint, Outlook, and OneNote. And then online, it's available in Word, OneNote, and PowerPoint for the web. Okay, and that's where you're going to find Dictate. Now, Dictate combined with Immersive Reader, though, is actually where we start to move into some even better stuff, right? So I talked before about, actually, no, hold that thought, I'll come back to you later. So talking about writing, right, that when we're using Dictate and we are, sorry, someone's coming off mute. Do you have a question? No. Okay, so when we're using Dictate, I was speaking to a friend of mine the other day who, you know, she was worried about her daughter using devices all the time and all this, and her daughter is dysgraphic, right? So having trouble with her writing. And I said, look, Dictate's a really cool tool. And she goes, oh, that's more devices. And I said, trust me, this isn't going to be fun for very long at all. You know, just keep her in Word and stuff like that, and it'll, you know, be a different experience. But anyway, it is there and it is available for you to use. So writing can also take place when Immersive Reader is being utilized, though. Okay, and so for example, if I look at this document here and I dictated my my writing, okay, in here like this, and then I can't read it back to myself for whatever reason, I can then use Immersive Reader to go in and hear my writing, okay? So it's not only using Immersive Reader in the reading stage, it's also using Immersive Reader as a tool so students can hear their errors, and that's going to be very key for a lot of them. So they can dictate like this, and then they can hear it back by using Immersive Reader. when we dictate though, people come to me and they say, oh, but what about, learning to write and handwriting and all that kind of stuff? You're going to have to use this, with the students in the way that, you as an expert are going to know how to use it. But that being said, getting a student to actually demonstrate their ability to, say, write a narrative genre, right? So they do their contention, they do their sequence of events, they do their resolution, all that kind of stuff. It's got their ability to communicate that to you has got nothing to do with their ability to hold a pencil or to write. And so getting them to use this in some contexts is going to be the way to go. And other contexts, we're going to have to force them to, to use a keyboard or to use a pen. But it's about using all of them and using all of those ones, all of those tools for different contexts. So keep that in mind as well. But yeah, the other thing too is, as I said before, about students being able to, who can't see their errors, but in fact can hear their errors is really key. And as I just showed you a moment ago, the combination of dictation with immersive reader is going to give you a degree of independence, or give those students a degree of independence that they've never had before. And remembering that this is ubiquitous to Office, which means it's not special technology that they can't use in, in the next grade level, in the workforce, in university, etc. Okay. So Outlook. So dictate and read aloud. It's in the Outlook desktop app, but not immersive reader. So what I mean is, if I'm in I'm just going to bring this up here. Sorry, this is in dark mode. I told you that this computer, I had to change computers. I very much operate in dark mode. That's where I live. But when, so sorry if it's a bit hard to see, but you're going to get the sense of what happens anyway. So I'm in the latest version of Outlook. Okay, so this is the full version installed, not the web version. And now what happens is, if I want to start to dictate, I'm just going to search for dictate. Search is up here because I'm not exactly sure where the button lives in here. But as I start to look for dictate, where's my dictate? Sorry. Oh, there it is there. Okay, so there's the dictate button here. Some of the commands, someone said a moment ago that in the app, some of the commands aren't working, but definitely the punctuation is working, but give it time and it'll get there. But if I was getting an email from a teacher, for example, I can actually play that back using the read aloud tool. Okay, so the email can come, I can click on read aloud and I can have that email read to me. It's not immersive reader, but at least I can hear it. And then when I want to dictate back to my teacher, I just click on the dictate button here. Here's all these. Dear Mrs. Smith, new line. I'm really sorry that I didn't get to detention today. I'm going to try my best to be there tomorrow. Full stop, new line. Again, my apologies. All right, we had some trouble there. Maybe I'm in the wrong language. Spoken language, let's make sure they're in Australia. Yes, we are. Let's try that again. This is what we say, the demo gods are not smiling. This is what we say at Microsoft, but let's see if we can get it to go this time. Hi, Mrs. Smith, new line. Sorry I didn't get to detention today. My mum had to take me to the dentist. Full stop. I promise I'll be there tomorrow. New line. Thanks a lot. Okay, I'm not sure if you guys can see that. I know it's a bit sort of dark and blurry and everything, but hi, Mrs. Smith, new line, didn't catch that one. Sorry I didn't get to detention today. My mum had to take me to the dentist. I promise I'll be there tomorrow. You can see this is still set on American language for me, so it's changing it to mom. Make sure that we've got our spell check running on Australian, but still good enough to send that email and be able to communicate to the teacher. There's probably a lot of students in secondary contexts that are getting emails from their teachers. The teachers are wondering why these kids aren't doing what they're doing. It's because they've actually got print challenges and the teacher is using email to communicate with them. So this can actually be a bit of a game changer for those students. All right, so that's inside Outlook and that's what that looks like. So you can get that in the latest version by going to office.com. All right, now, speaking of writing, fixing everything is not productive. We want to encourage students to choose what's most important. So that's that, challenge and support, finding that balance. Tackling everything at once can be overwhelming, and we want tools to let students self-assess their writing, not relying on someone else to assess for them, and clearly see what to work on. So remember spell check? You probably use it all the time. Don't realize it's not even called spell check anymore. It's now called editor. But the problem with traditional spell check, and let me come in, I've got a bit of stuff to tell you about here. When students use spell check for a document, the spell check software traditionally used to show a list of spelling suggestions when you right click or tap on a flagged word, right? And we know that. Now, there are several different reasons why people with dyslexia and other challenges have difficulty selecting a correctly spelled word from that list. So you can see what's going on the screen there, right? Firstly, they have difficulty perceiving the differences between similarly spelled words and determining which of them are correct. This can be due to visual attention challenges, remembering spelling rules, absence of visual memory, tracing the correctly spelled word, etc. So it didn't help that Office used to show spelling menus to show only the suggestions themselves without any context to help choose the right word. And secondly, having too many choices slows decision making and causes what's called decision fatigue. And this applies to everybody, but especially to young writers that have more difficulty with reading speed, accuracy, and slower processing time. And thirdly, unique spelling error patterns can cause words to look very different from the intended word. And historically, Office spell checkers optimized to show a smaller number of highly likely suggestions for the most common error patterns, and therefore it didn't often have suggestions for unusual error patterns such as these. So this is what it used to look like, and for some of you that are using older versions of Word and your kids that are using older versions of Office, they're still going to be using, what it used to be. But what we've done now is we've built a whole heap of tools into the back end of spell check, which is now called Editor, which looks something like this. Oh, no, not that. I'm going to show you another one. Sorry, guys, I've got so many windows open. Here it is here. And that's the PDF. There it is here. Okay, now I'm just going to drag this up. So I'm going to show you. So this is the full version of Word. Again, I'm in dark mode. So apologies that it might be a little bit hard to see up here. But again, you'll be able to access it. But the document itself is here in light mode, right? Now this button over here called Editor, right? So when I turn on Editor, you can see that what happens with Editor now is it does more than just spelling, and we knew that. We knew that spell check was doing things like grammar, etc. But it's brought everything into a nice little window for us as well, all right? But I'm just going to delete that. I'm going to close that for a minute because I'm going to show you what happens here. Now, those of you that can remember spell check once upon a time, it did actually used to pull everything out of the document into a window like it did just then. And then we realized that it was actually much easier for most of us to be accessing the changes we need to make inside the document. But for some kids, that's actually going to make things more difficult. So you can do either way. You can open up the Editor tab and be doing things outside the document, or you can be here inside the document. All right, but I'm going to show you this first. So here we see the word. It says here, I could throw it at my principal to scare her. Her husband is a policeman, so I better be careful. But here we have the word principal spelled wrong, right? And we know it's spelled wrong because it's got a red squiggly line under it. Don't assume that your students know this. Teach them what the code means, right? What's double lines, double blue lines for grammar, single lines for spelling, that kind of stuff. And you're giving them skills that are actually going to help them with the rest of their lives. Nevertheless, I'm going to right click on principal. And instead of getting a drop down of 3 words, look what I get now. I get nothing. Come on, you can do it. There we go. Okay, so spelling opens up here. Hopefully you guys can see this, but I've got 1, 2, 3 words in bold: principal, principal, and principals. And then underneath, I've got synonyms. okay, which is going to, those kids that are looking at that and getting a sense of, I don't mean code source and rule, I mean mainly the superintendent, great, fantastic. They can just click on that and keep going. But the kids that are challenged by print, what we've done, this little arrow here, we've got read aloud, okay? So what read aloud will do, and I don't know if you guys can hear this, but hopefully you can.
Principle, similar to code, source, rule.
So it's not only reading them the word, it's reading them the synonyms. Okay, we'll go to the next one because that's not the one we wanted.
Principal, similar to main, leader, superintendent.
Okay, so that's the one that I'm looking for. So I would obviously click that and on I would move. So what we've done, oops, excuse me, is the developers have done, I should say, people much brighter than me, they've chosen to show synonyms as opposed to definitions or usage samples because these are the most efficient at the level of reading. This way, fewer words are required to convey enough information to make a decision. And of course, less text will help the students, for example, because visual crowding, that is more text, and impaired visual search would be less of an issue, okay? We've also improved the spelling suggestions themselves. We leverage an online spell check engine, which provides a larger language model and a phonetic spelling component that gives us better suggestions, right? So that's just a whole heap of pretentious words to say it's much better than it used to be. All right. And so it's going to suggest to students, not only with the ability to hear their errors, all right, but also with their ability to have better suggestions and ones that they can navigate better. Now, when we come over here into editor, though, actually, I'll just skip to the next. Okay. So when we come into editor, I click this for us. This is for the kids that need something outside of the document because that's going to do, and here's some of those codes, right? Double lines, single dotted line, red line, etc. Teach the kids what they mean. But what this is going to do is it's going to bring things out of the text for them. So instead of all happening over here, which is going to maybe be confusing for them, instead, when I click on spelling, all right, what it does is the first thing it does is it actually brings the whole sentence out. And I can hear my error in context of the sentence. Have a look.
I could throw it at my principal to scare her.
All right. So I know there that I can hear the error as well as see it. And I also know it's a red squiggly line, so I know I'm looking for a spelling error. All right. And here are all my synonyms and my read aloud happening outside. But there's also spell out, which means it will spell the word to me, the suggestion to me.
Principle.
All right.
Principle.
People ask me, can you slow that down? Not that I know of, but you can play it over and over again. All right. So my spelling is all happening outside the document in a way that I can look at it. The other thing that's cool about this is, see here it says 9 remaining spellings, so I can go to the next spelling error and the next spelling error. Whereas if I do it in the document, spelling, whatever the heck that is, whatever the heck that's spelling, another kind of error, boom, it's doing it in that sense is linear. Whereas when I do it in editor outside, what it does is it's going to take things category by category, right? So I can do all my spelling first, then I can do all my grammar. So these are corrections. These are things that need to be corrected. But then we have refinements. Refinements are suggestions, right? So we might look at something like clarity, for example. Okay, clarity is great. It's all ticked. Conciseness. What's it saying to me about my conciseness? So let's tick on that. And let's listen to the sentence.
The Pacific Northwest tree octopuses are from rainforests on the west coast of North America.
Actually, that's spelling. Let's go to conciseness. Here we go. So
their habitat is on a mountain range, really close to a place called Hood Canal.
So it's suggesting to me that I don't say really close, I just say close, right? Or the next one.
That means they live in the water and also live out of the water on land sometimes too.
Okay, so and also. So I'm being superfluous with the words there. I should just choose and or also, and not and also. So these can actually be, let's take back in and show you, let's go back into conciseness again. Down here, there's a little settings, okay? So I can click on settings, right? And it's a bit hard for you guys to see, but I can go in there and turn on and off what matters to me. So you as a teacher could sit with a student and say, you know, formal language, he's in grade 2, not an issue. Let's just switch that off. We're not going to, and you can decide what it's going to draw their attention to and what it's not. Tick everything off, the poor little bugger's going to just be absolutely overwhelmed and destroyed, right? Whereas if we just say, no, we're only working on these issues, we're only working on spelling, we're only working on, you know, gender inclusive language or whatever it is you happen to be using, then you can switch on and off so that the student isn't overwhelmed, all right? So you can balance, support, and challenge. So what I did there, again, was when I clicked on conciseness or any other area, I then came down into the settings tab down here, and that's where I changed those, okay? So it's about working with the student maybe at first to work out what we want to draw their attention to and what we don't. Look what's here as well, similarity. Check for similarity to online sources, right? This is not as good as something like Turnitin, but it's a basic plagiarism checker. So if they've cut and pasted for Wikipedia, they can know if it's going to show up to you, let alone you knowing, okay? So so that lives in there as well. So that's what that's what editor, excuse me, looks like. So it's about teaching the student to set this up themselves, and then they can decide what's important, what's not, and then they can get the support and help. And remembering this is what they can take with them to uni, take with them into the workforce. You're actually building lifelong skills for them by getting them here. Okay? All right. If you've got questions, I'm going to get you to come off mute. I'm going to get you to be brave. I'm sorry, because I can't scroll back and start reading all these questions. So if you have got a question that's burning, please come off mute and fire away. Otherwise, we'll keep moving. No? Okay. All right. Now, editor in the browser. Now, we talked about Word. This is the full version of Word, right? I've got this document open here. At the same time, I've got the document open in Word Online, okay? Because my document lives in the cloud. So that means I can be opening it in the full version. I can be opening it down on my local version as well. I can be opening it in the cloud version as well. Now we can see very similar. It's got some of these highlighted words, but it's not the same experience. So when I right click on the word principal, just click it, not right click it. It's like the old style, okay? It hasn't yet caught up with what we're going in the full version. So some of your students that don't need things like read aloud, don't need the synonyms and stuff like that, they might be happy to use the online version. But some of your students, you're going to say, nah, you need to be working in the full version because we know what, you know, the bits and pieces that you need. All right, so just keep that in mind that it's not quite the same. But when we click on editor, editor has some advantages here that doesn't have in the full version. Let's let that load up. Okay, so the first thing that it does is it actually gives us a score. All right, we're waiting for that. I don't know why it's not loading, but it actually gives us an editor score. There we go. So we've got a 36% editor score, okay, which is telling me not so great. All right, lots of errors in there. I can look at my formal writing, all right, and I can decide, is this going to be formal writing, professional writing, or casual writing? And by setting those, we'll determine on what errors and things it's going to look for, all right? But let's keep this as formal. It's got my spelling errors there and my grammar errors there, like the other one that we saw before, the full version. And then the refinements are living down there as well. And then we've also got check for similarity for online sources, okay? So it's got that plagiarism checker in there as well. Text predictions, as I start to type, can turn this on and off, it will actually predict text for me. It will actually bring up some suggestions of the words that I might be looking for. Document stats, this is fairly new, so I'm going to click on that and see what I get. So you can see here it's giving me some basic document statistics, right? So the number of words, number of characters, how long it would take to read this document. So the normal person would take about 1 minute. And if we were reading it out loud, it would also take about 1 minute, all right? It gives me a readability score based on this Fleisch-Kincaid score. So it's telling me that it's 78 is a good score. It's fairly easy to read, and it's based on sentence length, number of syllables per word, and it's saying that we're looking at about a 7th grade reading level, right? And then how many suggestions altogether? It's got 16 for me to change, right? So the student has a bit of a tutor here, right? And so they could be actually typing in, and then you teach them how to basically go in and use this. Look at this. It's saying it's okay. There's no highlights found in document, but there's no headings found in your document either, right? So if it finds things and breaks, it might suggest headings. And it's basically working as a tutor there as well. All right. So that's what the editor tool looks like. So as I said, spell check has grown up. It does a lot more behind the scenes. It may look the same, but it's actually giving you better suggestions. But it's also coaching us with writing, whether we're down in our full version or we're up in the browser version as well. Now, remember, Mac users, if your version of Word doesn't yet have some of these features, you come through the browser just like everybody else, and you can certainly be using a lot of these as well. But things come to the Mac, they just tend to come a little bit later, but they do get there. Okie doke. Any questions about that before we move on? So you can see something like dictate, as I said before, definitely, you know, prep right up to year 12, reception right up to year 12. But these kinds of tools, editor and that kind of stuff, they do have to have some degree of, you know, familiarity with print, etc., to be able to use these. But, you know, it's about working what works for your kids and accessing them.
Hi, Troy.
Yes.
Just when we were looking at the Word, I was on Word Online, and when I went to go look at, say, conciseness or something like that, it actually just disappeared the text and it didn't go into the features that you had.
You mean did it like this?
No, if you go on the right-hand side, yeah, but when I can't click on conciseness or formality or clarity or anything.
Does it say a number next to it? Because it's got to have something to show you. So that's saying it's got 3 suggestions, whereas
I see.
Yeah, whereas the tick means it's all good.
Okay, that would make sense. All right, I'll have another look. Thank you.
Okay, and look, jump in and play around with this stuff, right? Because every time I open it, there's new features, right?
And
of
course, yeah.
Hopefully I did a really good job and you didn't see, but I actually, there was new features there today where I went, okay, let's just pretend, and then you guys won't know that I've just seen this for the first time. But get in play and
yeah,
get
wonderful.
in.
Thank you.
Cool. Okay, so that's what that looks like. Now, I'm going to also share with you word prediction for Windows 10. So Mac users and Chromebook users, just talk amongst yourselves for a minute. But we do have word prediction inside Windows 10. That is in our Windows settings. If you start to type the word predict, you can show text suggestions as I type. Okay, is what you click on there, and then it'll bring you to the settings and you can turn it on there. And so what that means is no matter where I am in Windows 10, not just in Office, as I start to type, it will bring words to me and make suggestions like your mobile phone often does. Okay, if you don't need it, it gets annoying really quick, but for some kids, game changer. All right, now the other thing I want to draw your attention to is the immersive reader inside the Word desktop app is different to immersive reader in the Word in the browser app. Okay, so we've seen immersive reader in the browser, but I want to show you what this looks like up here. Now I'm just going to turn editor off. The reason why I'm drawing your attention to this is the immersive reader inside the full version of Windows 10 Word is much better for writing. Okay, so it lives here in view, and here's immersive reader here. Okay, now look what happens when I click on it. This is not the immersive reader that we spent our morning on. Okay, I can change the column width, I can change the page color, I can also have line focus, right? But there's no picture dictionary. I can change the text spacing, I can syllabify, and I can have it read aloud to me. No picture dictionary, no translate. But the key, what's really important about this is inside this app itself, I can start to type. I don't need to come out of immersive reader back to the original document and type. So that means that when I'm writing, I can have this read aloud to me. I can be doing my typing, bang, 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 right? And then I can have all my settings the way I want it. And then when I go back to the original document, then it will look like the original document again. What this also means is if I was sharing this document with you and you were in this document at the same time, I can turn Immersive Reader on for me, be making changes. You're going to see it as the original document, but I'm seeing it as Immersive Reader, right? So it's much, much better for writing because you can do things inside the writing, right? But remembering this, I can be changing this in here and I can come back into it online at the same time, all right? I can turn on Immersive Reader here. So I can be making my changes down here, switching back to Immersive Reader in the online version and doing the Immersive Reader thing. All right, so it's a matter of combining the two. But you're going to have to work that out for yourself through playing around or also introducing it to your students and letting them work it out, all right? Because, you know, just because of time. But please go in and play, all right? You can see that we've really come a long way in the last number of years, and it's quite exciting. So everything, though, is inside Teams, right? I've got to come back and I've got to stress that if you're wanting your students to have this degree of personalization, if your school starts to, or your class starts to move things into Teams, then these tools are inside the other apps, which are all inside Teams. The teachers don't need to be switching things on, etc. It's all there for the student to personalize. So just keep that in mind, that's equity and inclusion is one of the reasons to move to Teams. Okay, empowering students with inclusive writing tools. See this one here, aka.ms/inclusive writing demo. I'm going to put this in here for you, aka.ms/inclusive writing demo. I think I've spelled that right. If not, aka.ms/inclusive writing demo. That is a step-by-step taking you through, showing you all the awesome things that we've looked at today, or at least some of them anyway. Okay, we don't have time for this. I know good PD is all about reflection and stuff, and I'm sorry but how do you intend to use these writing support tools with your students? Take some time to think about this after the workshop, okay? In fact, you probably already are. And how would some of the students you work with benefit from using these writing support tools? All right, so have a bit of a reflect on those. Now, math support, sorry to those that were asking for me to do this. We're not going to do this today just because of time. However, I have got another demo for you, aka, which is going to be better than I would have done anyway, I promise, aka.ms/inclusive math demo. It's American, so it's math, not maths, okay? Inclusive math demo. That will take you through and show you everything I was going to show you, but at your own pace anyway, right? So I promise you it's going to be better than me. Don't tell my bosses that, though, because I want to get my contract renewed. But there it is there. The other thing I want to draw your attention to is if you come into YouTube, and I'll grab this link and throw it in the chat for you, but if you come into YouTube, youtube.com, there's a guy by the name of Mike Tholfsen. I'm going to type him. Okay, Mike Tholfsen is a program manager for Microsoft in education. There's his name there. If you search for him in YouTube, sorry, I'm just going to let this load. It's just a little bit slow today, YouTube, isn't it? That's owned by Google, so I don't have to feel bad about that one. So yeah, see this guy here? Handsome looking man with the Nordic name. If you jump into his website, his YouTube page, I should say, he's got a series, I need to pause that. He's got a series here of videos, of playlists all around Teams. And there is a link that I will give you to this. Actually, I'll throw this in the chat as well, but it will come up in my slides because I did grab it for you, but I'll throw it in the chat for you. But he's got like Teams quick videos and that kind of stuff, OneNote quick tip videos, PowerPoint, more from Teams, Office apps, etc. But he has one on maths tools, and I think it lives in, let's go down here to playlists. Created playlists, here we go. He's got one here called mobile features. No, let's keep going. Math quick tip videos. Okay, inclusive math tools from Microsoft and math quick tip videos. All right, so maybe if I copy the link. So there's the math tools, inclusive math tools. That's that playlist there. And then he's got another playlist over here. Math tip quick tip videos, excuse me. So people that were asking for maths, I promise you, he's going to do as good a job as I did, maybe even better. So so jump in and I shouldn't say maybe even better, totally better, but jump in and have a look at that. All right, I promise I'm not leaving you high and dry, and you're going to learn a lot, and a lot of what we can do in that space. All right, so that's math. And again, sorry we didn't get there. Now the reason, speaking and listening, we didn't get there either. We're not going to get there. There is some amazing stuff around translator. Okay, so translator.microsoft.com. I'm going to put that in the chat for you as well. Translator.microsoft.com. The translator app and the translator website. I spelled Microsoft wrong. I think I've spelled it right there. Translator.microsoft.com. If I've got it wrong, you can find it. I would normally, take you through and show you some amazing videos. Actually, you know what? I'm going to stop myself and I'm going to show you this video. Hopefully we've got some audio. I did change computers. I want to show you some of the cool stuff that you can do for EAL and the deaf. So I'm just going to stop sharing my screen and start again with audio. Can somebody be ready to give me thumbs up if there's no sound? Oh, sorry, give me thumbs down if there's no sound and thumbs up if there is. Fingers. Sorry guys, it's can you see that? Okay, get ready to give me the thumbs up or the thumbs down.
Where I have lived, they believe that deaf people can't do anything.
Did we get sound? Yep.
Where I have lived, they believe that deaf people can't do anything, so it was very, very difficult. I came to RIT because of the communication access that's provided here.
RIT has 9 different colleges. And NTID, the National Technical Institute for the Deaf, is one of those 9 colleges. We are the world's largest mainstream program for deaf and hard of hearing people. We have the world's largest interpreting services, as well as the captioning group. It's the largest, but we still cannot keep up with the growth and the need for access services. So we decided to use Microsoft Translator as an additional communication tool, which can help RIT on its journey to scale.
Microsoft Translator uses AI to provide another really strong bridge for the gap that has been there so long.
As a deaf person, I want the exact same information that my hearing friends have.
Education is all about communication. So you have to level the communication field and then the learning occurs.
Working with Microsoft Cognitive Services, it was a fantastic experience. They were so motivated to work with us. It's like we jumped into the future. Presentation Translator was easier than we thought it would be. You really just have to click it, and the software automatically reads the content and everything that you have within the PowerPoint system. The custom speech recognition is critical for capturing vocabulary words that wouldn't necessarily be conventional in everyday life. For example, the terminology that you would see in a biology class.
Malleus, hammer, incus, anvil, stapes, stirrup.
We were able to feed key words into the classroom models.
So the system is, quote, learning as it goes, and the accuracy has improved tremendously.
Students can pick any language that they choose to receive the information. If the professor has chosen English, which they speak, then I can choose whatever language I learn in best.
Sometimes I would miss information before because either my mind would drift or I'd think something else for a minute. So now that I have my phone, I can see exactly what was said, so I can continue with the classroom and keep up. And that's been a huge help to me.
Students can use the app to initiate a conversation with others, or they can join a conversation that's already taking place.
Once I knew about the Microsoft Translator, I realized I can use that back at home during family dinners. And then I also can use it for study groups with my friends. In the future, I can also use it for my job because communication is very important for all of us and we just want to be together and not feel left out.
Do you guys play any video games?
I grew up as a deaf person. I know what those barriers feel like. So when I see communication happening, access happening, it's amazing.
If everyone had the technology that we do here, I know that deaf people in other countries would be able to succeed and go to college.
There are barriers to communication everywhere, but I think it's time we look at the barriers as opportunities, and then they can be broken down. Microsoft Translator has the ability to provide opportunities to reach out to everyone.
Okay, so what you saw then was the ability for Translator to be dropping subtitles and captions, etc. But it's listening, right? And then it's able to do that, and it can also translate. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a bit of an experience in this because I want you to see. So on my screen, okay, I've got the PowerPoint presenter view, and I can turn my captions on and off. Now, what I'm doing is, I'm sorry you can't see it at the moment, but I'm just going to turn on my subtitles, and I'm just going to make sure that I've got it in English. I do. So I'm going to turn this on now. So all I have to do is just a little button here to turn the subtitles on. And so now what happens, as I start talking, it's actually hearing me, and it will start to bring the captions across the bottom of the screen in real time. And people that were maybe from an EAL background or people that were hard of hearing can be listening to this as we go along. Now, what I'm going to do now, though, is I'm going to show you the translation as well that's built in here. So I'm just going to come into my settings. I'm going to change my subtitle language. I'm going to change it into something like, let's go with Hebrew, for example. And I'm not sure how good the Hebrew translation is or how good some of you speak Hebrew, but now what happens is as I speak in English, it's doing a real-time translation into Hebrew. And depending on the language and the complexity of what I'm talking about, it's going to be either really, really good or not. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to change into another language. So whilst in the middle of this, maybe we're going to say I'm a Cantonese speaker, and I'm going to change that to Cantonese. And so now as I'm speaking, just whilst this presentation is going on, the translation is going to start to come up. Oh, I'll turn it off and turn it back on again. The translation is going to start to come up in Cantonese. I'm just wondering where it is and why it's not coming. Let me make sure I did that correctly. There it is. So there's the Cantonese translation happening in real time while you and I are having a conversation. Now, the student could choose whatever language they want on their screen in real time as well, right? So it doesn't have to be just me controlling it. It can be controlled by the individual user. So from an EAL and families, speaking to families of students when they're coming from, a non-English speaking background, you can actually have parent-teacher and all kinds of stuff. I really need to keep you guys here for a second day, to be honest, to really do a lot of this justice and also, as I said before, take you through the maths. So sorry that we sort of ran out of time there. What I'm going to do now, though, is I want to show you one more quick video, which is excuse me. This is the PowerPoint presentation coach as well. So in PowerPoint Online now, there's a presenter coach. And I'm just going to share this. I'll just make sure that I've got audio. Just have a look at what this can do. Someone give me thumbs up or thumbs down for audio. Just make sure.
I'm going to demo PowerPoint Presenter Coach, and it's free as part of the web version of PowerPoint, and it's out today. I click on Slideshow, and I'm going to click Rehearse with Coach right here. Now PowerPoint's going to go into a mode where it listens to me present and gives me feedback. So here we go. Welcome to Presenter Coach. As you rehearse, you'll get feedback. I'm going to start rehearsing. Now this little button here indicates it's listening to me talk. I'm going to go to the next slide, and I'm going to try to talk really fast to get the speedometer to come up. There are 5 planets. There's Mars, Jupiter, Uranus, Saturn, and Neptune. There's a bunch of planets out there, and if I can talk really fast, it should pop up a little prompt. And there we go, my pacing. Try speaking a bit slower. Okay, we'll go to the next slide. Presenter Coach also listens for filler words. So here we go. There was a flyby of Mars on, and there we go. It pops up, try not to use too many fillers. Okay, I'm going to go and talk about the next one. And the next one is listening for inclusive language. Here's an example. Hey, you guys, did you know that the Earth, oh, look at that, sensitive phrases. This might be offensive and non-inclusive in some cases. Reading from slides is very common for students and for adults, so PowerPoint can listen and see if I'm reading from the slide. So here I go. When the satellite approached Jupiter, it discovered a few rings around Jupiter, as well as volcanic activity. Listen to this, originality. Try to avoid reading the slides. Summarize your key points. So those are the 4 techniques it was listening for, and I'm going to hit Escape to end my presentation. Now, when I'm done, it gives me a nice rehearsal report. It gives me a pacing, and I can see how many words per minute. That's where I was reading really fast right there, that spike. Originality, don't read from the slides, and it tells me which slides I was reading from. Was I using filler words? I used the word and I used some non-inclusive phrases. Sensitivity, consider avoiding these terms or phrases. You guys could just be you instead. So an educator could actually make an assignment to have a student practice their presentation at home and take a screenshot of this report. I do a little screenshot here and say, I'd like you to screenshot that report and pop it into your assignment to prove that you were rehearsing. And I could choose to rehearse again and start over. So that is a quick tour of Presenter Coach, which is free and part of PowerPoint for the web.
All right, brilliant. So remember, that's PowerPoint for the web. So that's PowerPoint in the browser, not the full version of PowerPoint. We talked about PowerPoint captions. We went through that. We talked about Teams and how everything lives inside Teams. I'm just looking at our time now, and I did promise to let you go. So I will draw your attention to Accessibility Checker. Okay, so Accessibility Checker lives inside a lot of the Office tools, and it will help you optimize your document to make it more accessible to people with screen readers, people that are hard of hearing, that kind of stuff as well. So that lives inside your version of Office now, and it's called Accessibility Checker. So I just want to encourage you to get in and have a look at that. We also have this thing called the Disability Answers Desk. Okay, aka.ms/accessibility support is where you go to access that. I'm going to jump out here and I'm going to go in there. So it was aka.ms/accessibility support. Did I spell that right? No, let's get there. Fingers crossed, aka.ms/accessibility support. And that will take you to the Disability Answers Desk. Now, the Disability Answers Desk has accessibility learning webinars, all right? So you can learn all about the stuff across Office and Windows, all right? It's got some amazing links to some resources and other bits and pieces, videos, additional videos. But what I really want to draw your attention to is this thing here, okay? So we have got a 1-800 number in Australia that you can call anytime between 9 to 9, Monday to Friday, and 10 to 6, Saturday and Sunday. You will get a real person on the end of the line, and you can talk to them about any of your Windows 10 or Microsoft Office accessibility issues. So for example, you could be sitting in a class, you're trying to work out, how do I do this in Windows 10 to make this more accessible for the student? You can ring that phone number, right? Can't guarantee how long you will or won't wait, but someone is on the end of that line and they will give you the answers that you need. So too, if you're on a Mac and you're looking for information about Office, so not just your Mac, all right? We're not Apple, but if you're using Office on your Mac, then that person at the end of the line will give you support there as well, okay? So it's a 1-800 number, it's free, and you can ring that to get accessibility support. It's probably one of Microsoft's best kept secrets, all right? The Disability Answers Desk. Now, if you're outside of those times, there's 24/7 chat, okay, as well. So again, that website there, what I'll do is I will grab the link, but it was aka.ms/accessibility support, but I'll grab the link and stick it in the chat there. And that's going to be hopefully one of your best takeaways for the day, because someone is there to help you. Don't have time to do a deep dive into this, but I will say Minecraft Education Edition and what we have for autism is phenomenal. Code Jumper, this is what I touched on before. Sorry, we don't have time to really explore, but it is a dexterous coding language for visually impaired kids, so they can actually code using blocks that they can feel, and then later, of course, that can be translated into their device, and they can code inside their device as well. This link here, aka.ms/inclusive deployment, will help if you are from an independent school or a school that has their own Microsoft 365 tenant. That link there is what your techie needs to make sure that everything is switched on and working right for accessibility. Again, download those slides and you can access that. I'm not going to go through this because you can go through this when you download my slides, but this is basically a summary of the things we did today: immersive reader, word prediction, dictate, editor, ease of access. Microsoft Translator, I know we only just touched on that, but please explore it. Office Lens, accessibility checker, automatic alt text, and Microsoft Stream I'll let you explore in your own time. We didn't get time to jump into those, but they are there as well. Now, what exists in what app? Troy, you say to me, I'm on a Mac, I'm using OneNote, or I'm in a Mac and I'm using Word, or I'm on a PC. What is where? This slide is not found here. This slide is found when you download my slides, okay? But it tells you what is available on what app in what platform. So for example, if I'm looking for dictation, it's available in the OneNote desktop app, the OneNote app, the OneNote for web, the Word for web, the Word desktop, blah, 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 right? Or translation is available in OneNote for the iOS and OneNote for the Mac, all right? So this is going to be worth its weight in gold for you as well when you download the slides. You've got homework, people, and that is to go away and dig through this stuff, okay? We've looked at reading, we've looked at writing, we've looked at speaking and listening. If we had more time, I'd read that slide to you. Remember UDL, okay? UDL is the framework that we use at Microsoft to build this stuff in. These are some of the things that we looked at today, okay? So things like customizing the display as information, offering alternatives for auditory information, optimize access to tools and assistive technologies, multiple media for communication. Some of what we dealt with today can tick these boxes for you when using the UDL framework. All right. Some research that we've got when you download, when you go to that link that I gave you before for download, you can access some of this research, find out for yourself. This is great stuff for a principal. You say, hey, I'm going to show you how these tools can actually save our school money. Principals love to hear that, let alone improving literacy and numeracy scores. Okay, final stretch. Are you ready? I'm going to go a million miles an hour, but you can come back and access all these in your own time. First of all, let's redefine what's possible in your school. We would love you to spread the word about the Microsoft 365 Inclusive Classroom. Tell your students, tell your colleagues, aides and ES staff, tell them. Support professionals, tell the speechy, tell the OT when they come, hey, did you know that this is here now? Don't assume that they know, because oftentimes they don't. Principals can be the biggest blocker to all this. Make sure they understand the equity and fairness reasons why this stuff matters. Parents and caregivers, right? They will be your greatest asset, as you know. Get them onto this stuff, and then they'll come back and start pushing this person here. All right. So get in there, and we'd love you to start spreading the word in your school. There's that UDL course that I told you about before. Okay. So when you download the slides, you can go in and do that. I have a series of videos, not as good as Mike's, but you can access them at aka.ms/TroyYT, aka.ms/TroyYT. I've just put that in the chat. That's my little YouTube channel with a couple of playlists and bits and pieces. Some of the videos that I've got on there are basically the same as what we've done today. Writing support, reading support, other stuff on math support in there as well. But I'm telling you, Mike's stuff's probably better. So go for that. Remember, you can do your self-directed online stuff, education.microsoft.com. Maths users, type in math, right? It's American, so M-A-T-H. You will get some courses, some online courses around math support. Inclusive is the word you're looking for, or even just incluse, right? Because sometimes it's inclusive, sometimes it's inclusivity. So just on your search, do INCLU. That'll be enough. It'll bring up all the inclusivity and inclusiveness courses for you, and you can do this in your own time. And remember, this hits your TRB, VIT, LMNOP, whatever yours is called. It hits those requirements except for New South Wales. The mother of all web pages, aka.ms/MEC accessibility, aka.ms/MEC accessibility. It is the landing page to find out everything that we've got on offer in education for accessibility and inclusivity. All right, so jump in there and have a look. People are leaving my meeting. That's all right, we'll go quickly. Immersive Reader. Remember I told you before about Immersive Reader. There's a link there. Everything you need to know about Immersive Reader is there. There's that inclusive classroom writing demo information again on the slides, aka.ms inclusive classroom, inclusive writing demo, inclusive math demo. There's that Mike Tholfsen YouTube again. Okay, that link is live, but I've already thrown it in the chat, so you can go in and he's got an accessibility inclusive classroom playlists. He's got a number of them there. All right, so go in and explore those. And his are really good. They're like 4 minutes and 3 minutes and a minute and a half. Really quick little videos for you to consume and to learn. And you can steer the kids to them as well, and parents. The inclusive classroom specialization, a group of courses, 9 hours worth of PD there around inclusivity. Not all of it is technology based. A lot of it is go in and have a look at that. If you want to teach others in your school, what we have done is we have built a series of workshops for you that you can, we've done all the work for you. You just have to deliver it. Okay, so one of them is called Mobile Tools for Inclusive Classrooms. That's about 1.3 hours that you can deliver to the teachers in your school. Another one that we've got is a 4-hour one called Literacy Tools for Inclusive Classrooms. All right, so that's in there as well. Remember, download these slides, you get all these links. Interactive Instructional Tools is an 8-hour PD for teachers at your school, okay? But what about the parents? I'm glad you asked. My boss came to me so many times and said, Troy, we've got to build a parents kit, got to build a parents kit. And I would love to take all the glory for this. I built it, but it was his idea, and it's such a good idea. Everything you need for an inclusive classroom parent information session. In other words, instead of running PD for the teachers, we run PD for the families. So what we did was we built a PowerPoint deck with detailed instructions and scripts, links to videos and resources, handouts. It's here at aka.ms/ICPK, Inclusive Classroom Parent Kit. Okay, and what it looks like is a PowerPoint presentation that you can take the parents through, right? You can break it into 2 1-hour sessions or 1 2-hour session, or make it even longer with hands-on. They turn up either online, right? You can do it through Teams, or they turn up at your school with their children's device, and you take them through and show them where everything lives and how to get it and all that kind of stuff. Not everything, but a lot of things, all right? So you can see there we do Immersive Reader and other bits and pieces as well, and there's handouts and stuff. It's steering parents to be able to do this themselves. Whole heap of links for you there to click through and find out some of the great stuff. that we've got on offer. There's the link to the Disability Answers Desk, the Microsoft Accessibility YouTube channel, how you can give feedback to the developers. People say to me, Troy, it'd be great if we could do this. And I'm so far down the food chain, developers don't listen to me. But they have a feedback page where you can go in and type in, this is what I'm looking for, right? And they will start to pay attention because they read them every day. This is your takeaway. You're not going to do this today. You're not going to do this now. But how are you going to apply all this in your daily work at your school? Don't let this be another PD where you go, oh, that was nice. Take something, whether it's immersive reader, dictate, combination of them, translator, something that's grabbed your fancy today, learn about it and apply it to kids in your school, right? Or teach other teachers, right? Spread the word. Okay, lastly, if you are on Twitter, LinkedIn, or Facebook, I have a three dedicated accounts for accessibility and education technology. So if you want to find me on any of these platforms, do a search for me. You'll know it's me because I've got this little graphic here, and that's me. What I will do for you is I will do the homework of finding out where the latest feature updates are, the coolest videos, the research, all that kind of stuff that's around. I find that and I push it up through those channels. Okay. And then what you can do is by adding me to your Facebook profile, or adding me to, following me on Facebook, I should say, it just means things will just start popping up in your feed. You don't have to be reminded to go and look. But I'm also on LinkedIn and I'm also on Twitter. Twitter tends to be that sort of 10% of people that love technology. That's who lives there. Leaders tend to live on LinkedIn and the rest of us down here on Facebook. All right. So choose one or all three, follow me, and I will push all that stuff your way so you don't have to go digging. How was that? 2:54. I promised we'd be out by 2:30, and I'm sorry I pushed you till 3. Apologies. I do like to let people go early, especially when you're working so hard and you've been sitting in front of this freaking computer screen all day. I know it's hard. But thank you so much. Yeah, thank you, Selena, for the thank you. But I want to thank you guys for being a part of this. This is going to sound trite, but I mean this. You are some of the most important people in the world, and you are some of the most important people in education. The people that are doing this inclusive classroom stuff in the way that you're doing it now. And so I salute you and I praise you, and you are awesome people. Let me help you. Connect with me on social media. Reach out to me, if you've got questions and those kinds of things. But more than anything, get your kids onto this stuff, all right? Because you're going to change their lives. And I appreciate you guys and all that you do. Okay. Sorry if that sounded trite, but I promise it's genuinely from my heart. You're really good people. I will hang around. I'm going to hang around for probably about 5 or so minutes if you've got questions. Otherwise, I, like you, am human and need to stand up and need to walk away from this computer screen. So I will hang around for about 5 minutes. Otherwise, you can reach me on social media or through my email address. And with that, I'm going to stop the recording and wish you all well.